Hi guys, I'm Tony, founder of the World Divination Association and known as the Card Geek on social media. We are looking at Game of Hope techniques today using your Lenormand deck. Now, the Game of Hope dates to 1799. It predates the Philippe Lenormand instructions that we use, and there are a lot of techniques we can take from the Game of Hope board and move them into our readings. We do have the Lenormand Summit coming up on the 22nd and 23rd of June, where you can learn more about these techniques if you so wish. We're going to look at the most important techniques with Game of Hope, which are the movements that are on the original game board. I'll put the overhead on and we will have a look. So I am using the DDR, the East German Lenormand deck. It is smaller than your usual Lenormand deck, so it fits nicely in the 6x6 format. Game of Hope was played in the 6x6 format. They do reference in the original instructions from 1799 the 8x4 plus 4 GT, which can be used for fortune telling too. So the early instructions speak of the fortune telling aspect as well. I'm going to show you quickly because I've got it out on my desk here. The deck that actually comes with the Lenormand Summit Tier 2. It is called Pocket of Posies and it's available and will be sent to all the attendees who are signing up with the Tier 2 option. And that's heading out to all tier 2. We are looking at Game of Hope. If you have never played the Game of Hope, I would ask why. It is an absolutely great game to play. We start at the top of the board and move through the cards one by one. So we stand our little figure at the top, we throw our dice, and we move along the numbers that we find. The cards then have movements. Think of snakes and ladders. Sometimes we move up the ladder and sometimes we move down the snake. That's very similar with the Game of Hope. It is that movement of the board. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. There are also squares on which we can win tokens and squares in which we have to pay out, as we would expect with any game board. The winning square in the Game of Hope is actually the anchor card. So not the last card, but the anchor card. When we land on the anchor card, all our hopes and dreams of winning come true. However, if we overstretch and land on the cross card, we do get that pain of the cross because we get stuck there and have to throw a double. And when we've thrown a double, we have to move backwards the number of squares detailed on the dice and then have to try and hit that anchor of hope again. So the cross becomes a particularly painful square in our Game of Hope. So let's have a look at the movements and how we can actually use them when we are interpreting our spreads. So the first card that actually has a movement is the ship card. And in the original instructions, it says whoever lands on ship will sail happily to the birds card. Well, happily to the Canary Islands, which is home of the beautiful famous birds on number 12. This links ship and birds together. So if you're using the Game of Hope techniques in your reading style, you know that when ship and birds land close together, or are landing on each other's houses, that there is actually a journey being shown. Because obviously in the Philippe Lenormand instructions later in the 19th century, we know that ship is our card for commerce. That's the main meaning for the ship. But it has that dual aspect of showing a journey when it's close. So if you use a game of hope techniques, you can always be sure if it's showing commerce or if it's showing a journey because it has that link with the bird's card. The card that is sitting in the house of ship will show you the nature of that journey. And the house sitting in the card sitting in the house of 12 will show you the destination or the outcome of that journey. So, for example, with scythe in journey and dog in birds, we could suggest that a journey is cancelled and that a friend or sticking put with the dog, it's our loyalty card, it's our card of staying where we are, is sat in the house of the destination. So this could be a cancelled trip where the querent is actually staying at home. And we have an offer of a journey, a happy journey, and moving to star. So if the querent is wondering where they want to go to, they should choose their favorite location with star sitting on the house of destination. The 16 star speaks of direction as well. So it's going to be a journey that actually brings them into where they wanting to be in life. And with bouquets sat in there, it could be an offer of a journey or simply a happy journey that is taking them to stars, helping them find their destination or way in life. The next card then on our Game of Hope board that actually moves us is the House of Clouds. Clouds is the thunder clouds in the Game of Hope, and it rustles you back to 2, which is the Clover card, so that you can find your way again out of that trouble and hopefully not land on 6 again. So Thunderclouds rustles you back to 2, where you regather yourself, regroup, and then move forward again. So if we had what's the trouble, for example, what was sat in the house 6, and then we see what's in house 2, we've got moon. So there's issues with reputation. Their reputation will be troubled. And they go back to number 2, which is 12, the birds card. Our original instructions from the Philippe Lenormand instructions speak of the birds being hard effort and burden. So if we are moving backwards and having to take that step back because of the issues with our reputation, it shows that the querent needs to put more work in. They need to graft in order to really raise their reputation. There were 2 nice cards to actually fall in those houses. The next card then, obviously we have Snake, which is a real negative card, but it is a card where we have to pay in the Game of Hope. It doesn't have any movements with it. The Coffin card, we are dead in there and we can't move on unless we throw another double. Then the next movement card, because that's what we're looking at today, is the Whip card, number 11. The original instructions state, to avoid being chastised by the birch, the whip, you have to pay 2 tokens. For that, you can move on to lad. So when we're reading with these houses of the Game of Hope, we take that original 11 house of whip to be that discord, what you have done wrong. And then we take the 13 house, the house of child, to say how you can do better or how you get out of this mess. So what have we done wrong? Sun, we've maybe been a little bit heated or we've been a little bit energetic, and how we get out of it? House, chill out. Get back to how you should be with house. It can also say that we've been a little bit overly positive and that we really need to focus on the success, because house is our card for success in the Philippe Lenormand instructions. The fox then is our next card, and fox drives the player insane. It drives them so insane that they are traveling all the way back to the top row in number 5 tree, which is called the forest card. It speaks of refuge and where you get back to. So the house for number 14 becomes what is driving the querent insane, and what do they have to regroup to? How do they find their refuge? What do they return to in order to remove this insanity, craziness, stress that the fox brings with? So in fox, we have the snake. So there's been some betrayal that has hit the querent's life. It's driving them crazy, thinking about people not being nice to them. How do they regroup? How do they find refuge? They find refuge actually in their financial status, the fish card. So if you think about if you were doing a work read or similar, snake sitting in the house of fox, showing that perhaps colleagues, etc., are doing a little bit of backbiting. How you find refuge, remember the money. You're doing this for the cash. The next movements then are what I would consider my favorite movements in the game of hope, and it refers to the cards 20, 21, and 22. So garden, mountain, and crossroad. The mountain is a card on which we get stuck. The crossroads is a card that if we land on it, we are sent back to the garden card. The original instruction says this path leads us back to number 20, the garden, the point at which this decision began. So 22 is our decisions card, the crossroads card, difficult decisions. And if we make the right decision, then we move on. If we make the wrong decision, then we're ending up back in garden again to regroup where the start of the situation is. So the start of the situation is clover. The decision to be made is cross, which shows extremely painful decisions. In order to make that decision correctly and choose the right path, the querent needs to use that clover card sitting in garden. So they need to have a lighter approach, perhaps not take it quite so seriously, or they need to make that spontaneous decision rather than taking that so seriously. We then have our people card at the bottom that move us along. It's great for relationship reads. So if your querent card is identifying with number 28, then if they land in 29, they are transported then forward to moon. The basics of this move is that man will take his partner to the sun. The woman will take her partner to the moon. So if you're looking for a relationship and you want to know what the future of the relationship is or the direction in which it's heading, we can say the male partner, or number 28, the querent, is taking his partner to number 20, landing in sun, taking her to garden. So really being open about the relationship, moving her in social circles, maybe outing the relationship into a social circle. If you're reading for the querent, but the partner card is the number 29, number 29 will take her partner to 32 moon. And as you see, we've got coffin sitting in that. So that would say that the relationship with this person isn't really going anywhere. It's only leading towards that end. So as you see, the movements in the Game of Hope can add to a general Lenormand reading, no matter whether you're reading with the 8x4+4, the 9x4, or the 6x6 GT. You can add this information in to know these movements, which means that you are checking those houses to see where they are heading towards, whether they are heading backwards and regrouping, whether they are moving forwards in that relationship like we just saw. But it also gives you ways to overcome problems. So with fox moving the querent back to tree, we can use those two houses to understand what the problem is in fox, what's driving the querent insane, and then in the house of tree, explain then how they can best overcome this situation. So everyone that has a backward movement, it has that added element of being able to find out a little bit more on how the querent can overcome. It's also great to know that there are step backs, because we often in life moving forward, but we often have to revisit things, and that will come up with these backwards movements. And it's interesting to see what is happening. If you want to learn more about the Game of Hope instructions and how to use them, we have a course at the World Divination Association on the Game of Hope techniques, but we also have Ben Tomlin speaking on the Game of Hope at the Lenormand Summit on the 22nd and 23rd of June. If you would like a ticket, go to worlddivination.com and you will find the Lenormand Summit link there for you to buy your ticket. We have 19 speakers, experts on the Lenormand system, and some incredible titles that are going to be spoken about this year, from discovering psychology to themes within your GT, all these extras that we don't always have the time to do on our own. So check that out on worlddivination.com, and we will see you hopefully on the 22nd and 23rd of June.